For 28 years, I believed I was happily married, and I never once suspected that someone else was laying a foundation inside my home. My name is Williams. For 28 years, I believed I was happily married. Not the kind of married people post online, but the quiet kind. Respect. Laughter. Shared decisions. Shared passwords. Shared dreams. We built our life together brick by brick. And I never once suspected that someone else was laying a foundation inside my home. My wife worked hard. Promotion after promotion. Until one day, she became the CEO of the company she joined years ago as a junior staff. I was proud of her. Truly proud. So proud that one afternoon, for the first time in all our years of marriage, I decided to visit her office. No suspicion. No agenda. Just pride. At the reception, I told the security man politely, "I'm here to see the CEO. I'm her husband." He looked at me, then he laughed, not mockingly, not rudely, just confused. "Sir," he said, still smiling. "The CEO's husband is inside with her already." I felt something shift in my chest. I asked him calmly, "Who?" He pointed upstairs. "The VP. Frank." For a moment, I thought it was a joke I wasn't part of. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I thanked him and walked out of the building like a man whose shadow had just detached from his body. At home that evening, I watched my wife carefully. She came in smiling. Asked about my day. Ate dinner. Laughed at a joke. Kissed me goodnight. Everything was normal, too normal. That night, I didn't sleep. I told myself the security man must be mistaken. Offices have rumors. People exaggerate. 28 years doesn't vanish in one sentence, but something had been planted in my mind. And once doubt is planted, it doesn't stay quiet. A few weeks later, while arranging some documents she asked me to sort, I found a hotel key card tucked inside a file. Not recent. One. Used. I traced it. What I found there didn't look like a hotel room, it looked like a home. A furnished space. Personal items. Pictures. Clothes that were not mine. That was where I learned the truth. She and Frank had been building a life together for 3 years. 3 years while sleeping beside me. 3 years while saying we. 3 years while planning my exit. Because in that same place, I found draft of divorce documents. Prepared, dated, planned for next January. I took pictures, I said nothing. And I went home to sleep beside a woman who had already erased me from her future. After that discovery, I became two people living in one body. One version of me continued life as usual. I woke up on time. Ate meals with her. Asked about work. Listened to stories about meetings and stress and growth. I even smiled when it was expected. The other version of me watched everything. I watched how easily she lied without trembling. I watched how normal betrayal looked when it had been practiced for years. What hurt the most was not the affair. It was the planning. She was not confused, she was not emotional, she was organized, and that told me everything. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I needed facts, not apologies. I needed clarity, not tears. Days passed. Weeks. Then one night, she fell asleep on the couch with her laptop open. Even if it was locked, it wouldn't have mattered. We had shared passwords for decades. We used to joke that privacy was for strangers. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, asking myself if this was the point of no return. Then I opened it. I didn't search blindly. My background is accountancy. Numbers speak to me the way silence speaks to guilt, and the numbers were loud. Transactions that didn't make sense, approvals that skipped process, payments that always ended in the same place. Frank, her VP, her future. The company's money was being bent quietly, carefully, always in his favor. Nothing reckless. Nothing obvious. Just enough to look like competence instead of theft. I felt sick. This was no longer just about me. This was bigger than a broken marriage. This was criminal. I copied everything. Files. Emails. logs and records. I did not touch anything else. I did not delete anything. I closed the laptop and went to bed like a man who still belonged there, but I already knew. By morning, the woman beside me was no longer my wife, she was a risk, and I had a decision to make. 4 days after that night, I carried the truth like a loaded weapon in my chest. I didn't rush. I didn't panic. I understood something very important: once you act too fast, you lose control. And control was the only thing I had left. I watched her more closely now, every phone call she stepped out to take. Every late meeting. Every sudden smile at a message she tried to hide. She was lighter. Freer. I was heavier. Quieter. One evening, she told me she would be working late again. She said it casually, like it meant nothing. Like she wasn't slowly cutting me out of her life. That night, alone in the house, I finally made the call. Not to a lawyer. Not to family. Not to a friend, I called someone inside the company. Someone senior enough to understand what I was about to say, and careful enough to keep quiet. When he answered, I said only one sentence: I have evidence that the CEO and the VP are manipulating company funds. There was silence on the line, then he said, "Can we talk in person?" He came to my house 2 hours later. I told him everything. Not with anger. Not with emotion. Just facts. Dates. Numbers. Documents. Patterns. Proof. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back and said something that stayed with me. This is not small. He promised discretion. Promised investigation. Promised nothing else. The knock came earlier than I expected, not on our door, but on hers. The company did not call first. They did not warn. They did not negotiate. They invited her for what they called a final clarification meeting. That was the phrase she used when she told me. Her voice steady, her face calm, like a woman who still believed she could talk her way out of anything. She dressed carefully that morning. Slower than usual. Too careful. She wore the same perfume she used when she wanted to feel powerful. Before leaving, she looked at me and said, "Whatever happens, remember we built something real." I didn't answer. That evening, she returned as a stranger, her shoulders were lower. Her eyes avoided mine. She dropped her bag and sat down without removing her shoes. Then she said it, almost in a whisper, "They know everything." The investigation had concluded faster than she imagined. Emails. Transfers. Authorizations. Patterns. Things she thought were buried under trust and authority had been laid out on a table in black and white. Frank was gone for good, not just fired but handed over. The word fraud was no longer being whispered, she was asked to resign. Not suspended. Not corrected. Removed. When she finished talking, she finally looked at me. And in that moment, she knew. "You did this," she said. Not angry. Not loud. Just certain. I nodded. That was when the marriage truly ended. She cried. She begged. She reminded me of 28 years of sacrifices. Of love. She said Frank was a mistake, that power changes people, that she would fix everything if I stood by her, but some things cannot be repaired because they were not broken by accident. I told her I had already spoken to a lawyer. That the divorce papers were ready. That I had documented everything, not for revenge, but for protection. She screamed then. Accused me of betrayal. Of jealousy. Of destroying her life. I listened quietly. Because the truth is, her life was already built somewhere else. I just refused to be buried under it. We divorced quietly. No drama. No headlines. No public shame. Frank disappeared from her life the same way he entered it, when the benefits stopped. I moved out. Started again. Not because it was easy, but because staying would have killed something in me I still needed. Today, when I think back, the pain is still there. Betrayal does not evaporate. It settles. But so does clarity. I learned something expensive. Sometimes, the person sleeping beside you is already planning a life where you do not exist, and sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is let the truth speak, even when it burns everything you once called home.
I'm glad you joined us till the end of this story. I am sure, Dom, and I will see you on the next one.